can slowly ease into it.
Cool.
Um, cool. Yeah. And we aim to record anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. If
Hmm.
it's great conversation, we go over. If you're cool with that, that's fine. And
Yeah.
if it's shorter, that is no problem at all.
All right, great.
Cool. Okay, here we go. On this episode of Just Another Biz podcast, we have okay, wait, I have to pause because I can't remember. Is it Krieger?
Krieger.
Krieger.
Yeah.
I need to write this out phonetically because I think I've just been saying Sonia Smith for a while.
I love all
Yeah,
the
which
E's.
is easy.
Yeah, and then
That was an
Carrie
accident.
Smith. That's too
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, we're too.
Okay.
Yeah, my last name isn't changed on my Zoom
Oh,
thing.
that's true.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, starting over. On this episode of Just Another Biz podcast, we have Sonia Krieger Smith, and she is the owner of Sonia Smith Creative, where she helps wedding professionals like planners, photographers, and florists streamline their businesses through virtual assistant support, social media management, and HoneyBook setup services. As a HoneyBook Pro and one of only, 20 nationwide,
Yeah.
she specializes in building workflows and systems that save creative entrepreneurs time, keeps them organized, and allows them to focus on what they love most. Sonia launched her business to support wedding pros during their busiest seasons and to help them create sustainable, efficient back-end systems year round. Her goal is to make their businesses feel lighter, more manageable, and set up for growth. Sonia, we are so excited to
Yeah.
have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have you on. It's always so fun to chat with you, Gabby, ever since we worked together. You worked on my wedding, so we've kind of kept a connection, and it's always good to pop in and out and check up on you and offer help wherever I can.
Oh my God, you're an absolute rock star. And we have to talk about this business that you created because, I mean, essentially, when you were a client of mine as a bride, you were not an entrepreneur in that sense. And so, like, how does one wake up one day and decide to start like a creative agency like yours? And how did you get into HoneyBook?
Yeah, when we worked together, I was in the corporate world. I was doing like the daily 9 to 5 grind, working in downtown LA. And then I think after working with you on my wedding, it kind of sparked my interest in that industry. I decided to step away for a little bit, go on my honeymoon, come back refreshed. And I took all my skills from working in corporate and was like, okay, what can I do? What can I pull from what I've learned into something where I can help people more directly? And so that ended up having me, I ended up having created I was just a virtual assistant, just right off the bat, helping anyone and everyone.
First of all,
Um,
not just, no one is just a virtual assistant. You
Yeah.
guys are like unsung heroes. Most
that's
of us could not function without them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I ended up helping anyone that needed help. Whoever I knew that was in my circle that had a business, I'm like, what can I help you with? And then after working with a few people, I kind of niched down into the wedding industry because I really liked working with those vendors. I was familiar with the process. And also just having a gallery of images for us to pull into blogs is so helpful. With every wedding comes a huge gallery of images. It made it so much easier for us to be able to pull into blogs, pull into Pinterest. So I was like, I like that aspect. It makes it a lot easier for us. So then I just kept getting interest from people that wanted to work with me. I didn't want to turn people away, so I ended up expanding my team, and now we're about a team of 5. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so that's a whole new thing for me is learning how to lead and manage a team,
Mm.
but it's been so fun. I love everyone that I work with. And then through working with my own business and my own HoneyBook account, I started to get really familiar with the platform and I started offering setups to people. And HoneyBook reached out and was like, hey, do you want to go through this HoneyBook Pro process? It's a whole vetting thing. We talk one-on-one. And then they end up putting me on the website. So now anyone that searches HoneyBook Pros, they'll see me on the list and can work with me if they want.
So is it like an audition process type? Like, do you have to do some tests and tasks for you to prove that you're a pro?
Yeah, there is like an interview process. I think I went through like two or three, and then there's like a form to fill out, but it's very rarely that they like open it up to people. And then the wait list is super long. So people have been on it for like years. So the
Wow.
fact that I got in kind of early was really, I'm really thankful for that.
So is that like you're employed with HoneyBook or you're just like listed on their website and people are actually working through your company?
Yeah, I'm like an independent contractor.
Okay.
I'm not employed by HoneyBook whatsoever.
Gotcha.
But I do kind of serve as a middleman between like the HoneyBook team and the developers
Hmm.
and the people that are using HoneyBook. So I'm in a unique position
Yeah.
where we kind of get a little bit of insight of things that are coming out in the future that they're like, don't tell your clients yet. And I'm like, I want it so bad.
Yeah.
And then, well, on the client end, I'm taking notes and concerns that come up often and relaying them to people that are actually working in HoneyBook. So it's a really interesting relationship. And I'm happy to say that I think I'm doing real progress and making contributions to the actual platform when I'm in this kind of middle position.
And Sonia, for our listeners who don't know what HoneyBook is, can you explain a little bit more before we kind of dive into all of our other questions?
Yes, totally. Great question. HoneyBook is a client relationship management platform where it is set up to take care of your entire client process from inquiry to offboarding. You have your invoicing, you have contracts, scheduling, everything that you need to kind of run the back end of your business is set up in HoneyBook.
And I use it. I've been with them since the beginning, which is like so crazy. I went to an event here in LA
Mhm.
and I think it was in Hollywood or something. So it's funny just to like have been with them for so long, but also see the
Yeah.
growth. It's really cool.
Yeah, some people that started at the very beginning have like really great rates and in terms of billing, but I've also seen it progress from a platform that was mainly created for
Mhm.
wedding vendors and wedding pros to not only having more features, but also expanding it to be able to accommodate other industries as well.
So I have a question, which I can pretty much answer for myself.
Mhm.
But true or false, people are not utilizing HoneyBook to its full potential.
Yes, this is so true. I don't think I've ever come across anyone that's like, yeah, I'm so confident in my honeybook. There's nothing else that needs improvement. Um, Most people probably use it as like a fancy invoice sender,
Mhm.
which it totally can be. And people get as far as like, okay, I've set up my settings. I have a contract and invoice that I send, but that's most of the time that's all. That's as far as they get. So a lot of common mistakes that I see are people like paying for a scheduler outside of HoneyBook. So they pay for Calendly and Acuity, not knowing that HoneyBook has a built-in scheduler. So not only is that like, okay, let's check off another subscription from your list, but also let's integrate the HoneyBook scheduler into your automation. So now things can trigger from when a client schedules a call. So I see that come up often, and people don't even know that HoneyBook has a scheduler, and that surprises me. Um,
And so what I'm hearing, Sonia, is that if people hire you, you will save them money.
yeah, it's honestly so true because people are using all of these platforms, and I'm like,
Yeah.
let's combine them all together. It's
Yeah.
an investment for your future because you're saving time along the way with consolidating all of those platforms, but also the automations, they add up all the times that you're spending like writing an email or sending a file. If that can be done automatically, then it's gonna definitely impact how much free time you have.
Yeah.
I think a lot of pros get so hung up on I'm too busy to set up all the
Yes.
automations and workflows. And I
Yes.
think that's where you would be helpful. But is there any like tips for people, even if it's just like, just get a few set up? Because, like, again, you said you're going to save yourself so much time when you're drafting the same email over and over. Like, you get to a
Hmm.
point where you're just like, okay, I just need to have a canned response and this automation
Yes.
set up. But do you have any tips initially for people that just feel overwhelmed by the process?
Yeah. So first and foremost, if you're actually overwhelmed, you're in the busy season and you need to get something up, there's people out there like me that can help you. But once the slower season comes around, that's a great opportunity to work on the back end in your systems. There are a few things that you can do that don't take very long that will make a huge impact. First and foremost, where are your clients finding you and how are they contacting you? It's usually some sort of contact form that's on your website. So if that is in HoneyBook or anywhere else, go through the contact form. A lot of people like make it more than it needs to be, and that deters clients. If they're seeing a whole list of questions, it's like homework for them to even make that first step to reach out to you. So get what you need, include a few personal touch questions in there, so that you have some kind of like information to build off of. But also, clients love to talk about themselves, so they're going to want to do that, so that they can get their foot in the door and then set up a like a one-time automated email that can send immediately after they fill that out. So you get something in their inbox right away. Because I read a statistic, I think it's like 50% or more people end up going and booking the person that replies first. So
Yes.
if you can get,
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Because communication's so bad now. Like we've talked
yeah,
about this before, but post-COVID, after the influx of clients that people got when COVID was more or less over, they
hmm
continued booking at that rate and never like went back to their usual capacity. And therefore, I feel like the communication for a lot of people just went off the rails like it and it hasn't gotten any better. So I'm with you. I think a lot of people are going to book based off of just the quickest response. And so that automated email that they get, what exactly is in that?
Yeah, so usually I recommend that there are some kind of utilize those smart fields. That's
Mm.
going to add that personal element, and the smart fields can be auto-populated with the information that they have filled out in their contact form. So even if it's like, hey, first name, that's
Mm.
a great place to start. You can even now, this is a recent feature, put smart fields into the subject line of the email too. So
Ooh.
that's the first thing that they see
Mhm.
when they open their inbox. Hey, first name. That's great. They love to see that. It feels more personal. And then in that first automated email, you have the option to make it as personal or just get something in their inbox as you want. But I usually recommend, like for wedding pros, they want to check their calendar to make sure that
Mm.
you're even available for that date. So usually I'll put something in like, hey, first name. Thanks so much for your inquiry. I'm taking a look at my calendar and will respond within 24 to 48 hours. That's usually the basic thing, the most basic thing that I'd like to have in there.
Like
And then
setting
if you,
expectations for a response time. Like that,
yeah,
people want that.
yeah, setting just them knowing that you've seen it,
Yeah.
you're you they're on your mind, you're working on it, you're making active progress towards getting them that next response. And then if you are maybe working with more luxury clients and want to have that vetting process of
Mm.
are they even in my wheelhouse of like, does their budget fit with who I work with? Does their budget fit with my pricing? You can send them a pricing guide, either as a PDF or as a smart file. And that's just kind of an optional step if you want to add that in there.
Yeah, because I do like custom quotes for most people, I
Mm,
do have like a most clients spend with me
yeah.
because I like to get that. I mean, it's on my website, but I feel like so many people still miss that, right? And so it
Yeah.
is nice to have that in that first email. I think for a courtesy on both ends, right? For them to be
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, they're way out of my price range." They could
hmm
move on to like searching for other people or even for myself, just like letting them know and then we don't have to go through this whole
Hmm.
back and forth in a call and then they're like,
Yeah.
"Actually, you're out of our budget."
Yeah, totally. Because by the time you go hop on a call with them, ideally you would have worked all that out because now
Mhm.
you, both of you are investing your time and you want to be starting to funnel in clients that are actually going to potentially move forward with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Ooh, okay. Let's talk a little bit more about these brochures and the price guides and
Mhm.
contact forms, all that kind of stuff. So, obviously, you gave us some good, like small tweaks, keeping the contact form maybe on the shorter side. And
Mhm.
then I assume, like, throughout your automation, there will be maybe a longer questionnaire at some point for preferences. And those maybe don't have to be automated because at that point, each client is going at a different pace
Mhm.
as to what is happening there. But how, I guess, what are some things that you've seen wedding pros present in terms of brochures, price guides, contact forms? Like, what's the sequence that you're seeing that's working really well for them?
Yeah. So the kind of sequence that I like to build everything off of is having that contact form on there, embedding it on your website. That's,
Mhm.
like I said, that's where clients are finding you. You want it to be an easy step for them to move forward with you and get that first inquiry phase in. And then I have a general framework, but obviously I customize it based off of who I'm working with. If you want to send them a questionnaire to vet them even more or to ask them more questions that aren't included on the contact form, you can send them a questionnaire. There's also an opportunity to accommodate for those clients that are starting at different times. Let's say you want to send them a design questionnaire 8 months before their wedding date. You can automate that and you can plug that into your automation. So, kind of taking a look at your major milestones and seeing when am I
Mm.
sending this email most of the time? When am I usually sending this questionnaire? Can I standardize it in a way that I can now automate it moving forward? So that's a big thing. With all of the files that you are creating, it's also really nice to just have that streamlined branding in there.
Mhm.
So from the point that your clients are finding you, whether that be on Instagram, on your website, on Pinterest, you want to start having that like brand narrative and that brand through line with all of your other branding elements. So anything that's client facing, the brochures, even the contact form, the questionnaires, it's just nice to have that continuity for your clients. So implementing your color palette, your fonts, which you can upload custom fonts to HoneyBook too. Just making sure that that's all kind of streamlined, so that they have that nice experience.
Yeah. And are you finding that couples, I mean, I guess you may not know this, but are you finding that couples want a lot more things to read and fill out? Or are they wanting, like, you know, how we say our attention span is so much shorter nowadays, but like as
Yeah.
planners, we still need all of this information. So, what are you finding? Like, is it better for people to hop on calls and collect this information, or are clients okay with more guidelines to read and then questionnaires to fill out?
I would say that most clients do tend to skim. So making sure that anything that you are creating for them isn't super overcomplicated. The way
Mhm.
that brochures are set up are by pages. You can make the pages as long or short as you want to. Ideally, I tend to lean on the shorter end. Maybe do a quick recap of important points on your that are on your website as an intro page on your brochure.
Oh, yeah.
Then get to your pricing and packages. That's what they want. That's what they're coming to you for. And then if you want to combine it with your proposal, you can. But for wedding pros, you usually want to hop on a call before they actually move forward with that contract and that payment phase. So, um,
Yeah.
condensing it as much as possible, only including information that you think that they need. And then later down the road, once they've booked, is when you can get into the longer questionnaires,
Mhm.
the deeper calls, those check-in emails. Um, and then with couples, they're like Gen Z who's getting married now, right?
Yeah. They're
Hmm.
Yeah,
so
so
different.
yeah. So integrating there's those text reminder elements that you can send via the scheduler. I think
Oh,
texting is a big thing for this generation. So getting things to them via email and then implementing as many text elements as you can is, I think, helpful.
yeah. Because Carrie, right now, when your clients inquire, so you have the HoneyBook contact form on your website, right?
Hmm.
And then
Yeah,
so
which I did shorten
Okay,
like a
good.
couple months ago because someone else mentioned that too.
Ooh.
Because I had some longer questions on there, but I was curious, so I did shorten it a bit.
and so
Yeah.
then you send them that automated response.
Yeah, so I have an automated, yeah, that replies like right away. And it basically says like, thanks so much. Like, we'll
Mhm.
look at our calendar, everything that Sonia
Great. Okay,
said. And
perfect.
like,
I love that.
here's our like minimum and what our clients typically spend. And then, yeah, we'll get back to you within like 24 to 48 hours. Um, and then from there, I'll like look into it, see if, were available, if they seem
Mhm.
like a good fit. And then I send kind of another template that I have that has the scheduler in there so that they
Mm,
Okay.
can schedule a call with me on my calendar,
okay.
which I did that years ago of just because back in the day, I used to just be like, hey, what's your schedule look like? And we would be like all of
Oh
this
my
back and
God.
forth, right? Like I think we all did that.
Yes.
Because also then I think a lot of in-person meetings were happening and stuff, but ever since I've done the scheduler, it's been like a game changer. I felt like even
Mhm.
people were more likely to book a like consultation call with me because of that versus
Mhm.
like the going back and forth. So if you're not
Yeah.
using a scheduler, you should be because
Yeah.
I bet it'll change people having a call with you, like getting to that next step.
Yeah, it's so true that that scheduler, they can click it, book on their own time, see your
Hmm.
availability, and a lot of people aren't aware that the scheduler does integrate with your personal calendar. So
Hmm.
if you have a nail appointment or you have something else on your calendar that's already blocked off in there, that time will block off. So you're not going to double book yourself, which I think might be a fear of why people might not use the scheduler. But there are ways to customize it in a way that it can be exactly as hands-off as here is the link, find a time that works best for you, and then there's none of that back and forth.
Yeah. Because I
And
also found, I was just going to say, I feel like another huge benefit of that was oftentimes clients were like, "Oh, can we chat after we're off work?" And it was like later at night, and I didn't
Mhm.
want to be doing that. And so now they just find time in their
hmm
schedule because it's like, "Oh, this is her availability." And I feel like
Yeah.
it was a really good boundary set that clients have respected.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because now you don't have to tell them no. It's just
Yeah.
here
I'm
are the
like, no, I don't want
options.
to take a call at 8 o'clock at night. Like,
Yeah.
I know
No,
you're
no,
available, but I'm not. Yeah.
no.
Gabby, what were you gonna say?
No, that's literally exactly what I was going to say. I was like, and if anything, for wedding planners listening, it our people pleasing tendencies start
Yes.
with that damn scheduling of the call. So if we can put the boundary up from the get-go, we will not get bamboozled as much down the road.
No, that's so true. Because then they're going to be like, oh, they can take a call in the evening. Can they take a call on the weekend? Can they take a
Right.
call while they're on vacation? No.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
So, Sonia, you have kind of like a system sprint, which is like a quick over the weekend, get everything updated. What would
Mhm.
you say is on your checklist for that kind of quick reset for wedding pros?
Yes. A big element of even if you're wanting to dip your toe into the automations, start with the project types that you have set up in HoneyBook.
Mm,
So for a wedding pro or planner, for example, that would be full planning, month of planning, and then like venue sourcing. So those will be your three project types. Essentially, what services, what packages are you offering for your clients? So narrow those down, go into the settings into HoneyBook, see if that matches up with what's on there. Because oftentimes, like they'll have the default ones that HoneyBook have in there, and that sets you up
mm,
for not a great experience when you start looking into the automations. So start there. Make sure that you have that linked question on your contact form. What type of service are you interested in? Because from there, based off of what they select, which project type they select, they can be funneled into their own automation. So automations can be customized to whatever project type they're going to be
mm,
working with you on. So, if there is different timing, if there's different wording or different files that need to be sent to that client, that's kind of when I determine, okay, it denotes its own project type, it denotes its own automations funnel. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
I
And
did not know
that,
that. That's
no.
huge.
Well, and
Yeah.
that makes sense because, like you said, so let's say a wedding management, right? They don't maybe start working together until a few months before the wedding, whereas a full
Hmm.
service planning client would be working together from the get-go.
Exactly.
And so, wedding management, especially coming in at such a lower price point than full service planning, you want the automations more than ever in that type of package because
Hmm.
you are not offering that white glove service to the client. Whereas I think for full service, I probably be less inclined to implement a ton of automations, and curious your
Hmm.
thoughts on this, Kari. But because we take a lot less of them in a year, we want to give them their undivided attention. But as I'm saying this, I go back to our whole boundaries conversation of like 2 minutes ago,
Hmm.
is at what point are we doing this more like personalized conversation unnecessarily? Like, are there
Hmm.
boundaries that we should have set that do not take away from the client experience, but maybe save us some time and they still feel like they're getting the support? Does that make sense? Like, how can we balance that in a high touch package?
Yeah, that's a great question. And HoneyBook knows that. They want it to be as customized and as closely related to the relationship that you want to have to your clients as possible. So there are ways to implement more of that high touch, that personal onboarding and offboarding experience. Even like I said, if you have those main milestones in there, I want them to get a response after they fill out my contact form. And 1 week after their wedding, I'd love to send them a, hey, can you leave me a review on my Google business page? Even if it's just that and everything in between is manual, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Once you start getting familiar with the way that your process goes, you'll start acknowledging those milestones a little bit more. Like, I'm sending this email around this time with every client.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of start implementing them into your automations, even as uh, there's a step that you can create called create email draft. So it pulls up that email template, but it gives you the option to customize it before sending it out. So even if it has those few sentences in there or a structure for you to fill out, these are things that we talked about on our last call with the bullet points that you can just customize and type that in.
Mhm.
That's a really nice way to kind of have that seamless transition from doing it all yourself versus automating. And then when you get more comfortable with that, if you're able to standardize things a little bit more, you can set steps to require approval before sending, where it's
Yeah.
already pre-templated. You just have to acknowledge it and send it out before it goes. And then you get to the opposite end, which is fully automated, hands off as much as you want.
Oh, I love that. Because what do you do with the different types of clients, Carrie?
I mean, I'm mostly doing partial and full, so I
Sure.
have like that automation in the beginning, but I don't really have anything automated set up during it except for like payment reminders. Um,
Yeah.
but because it's so different and we don't really utilize HoneyBook during our planning process because we're
Hmm.
using aisle planners. So I'm besides like their invoices throughout
Hmm.
that, I'm not utilizing as much in there. Like they do the initial questionnaire and stuff, but even though that template's set up for me, sometimes I go in and like change that just kind of based
Hmm.
on the client and where they're at. Cause sometimes it's like they have the venue, sometimes they don't, or they're like, we have
Hmm.
5 vendors booked. And so I don't want to I don't want it to be too canned where it's like, oh, we already talked about this, or, and then they kind of
Hmm.
feel like, well, why did she include that? So I try to manually, I guess, go in and manually change that and not have that automated.
Yeah, and it's all just personal preference. I've worked with clients that have come to me and have said, I want to automate things as much as possible. I want to be as hands off so I can focus on my clients the day of and create a really beautiful experience for them when they come in.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you want to interact with your clients outside of the automations, that's not going to mess any of that up.
Hmm.
And then I've had clients that are like, I want to approve everything. I want to like have no automations, if any? Can you just make my smart files really beautiful? And can you make sure that that side of things is really nice? So there's definitely like, you can lean either way. It's definitely, um, why am I blanking on the word?
Like flexible.
Spectrum. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Because I have experienced with other vendors where, like, let's say the photographer and I have already had a conversation about the timeline, and then like a week later, an automated email goes out from Honeybook, like, let's
Yes.
chat about the timeline. And so I feel like
Mm,
that stuff
Yes.
is like, I guess being careful of that. That
yeah.
like if you have those things automated, maybe don't send it. Because then the clients were like, wait, we already
Mhm.
spoke about this. Why is she? Because they like don't know that it's automated, but I'm like, oh, that's an
Right.
automated email. So I feel like just being careful about what is automated, and if you're
Hmm.
already kind of crossing that thing off your to-do list, like make sure you're not confusing clients and other
Hmm.
people you're working with that automation.
Yeah, and that's I think a great instance of that require approval or create email draft where when it does come across, you either can skip that stage or you can customize it to be like, hey, I know we already worked on your timeline. Do you have any questions at this point, or is there anything else that we can work on now? And then when you get to more of the advanced automations, there's things that might lean more towards the like being hands off, especially with the automations 2.0, like the follow-ups. So you can have that conditional logic in place that can take care of those follow-ups for you because no one loves ghosted leads. That happens often.
Yes.
They'll inquire and then you won't hear from them again. So even if you set up a sequence where you send them that automated email after the contact form. Then you check your schedule, send that I'm available email. Here's a link to schedule a call. You can have HoneyBook see have 2 days gone by and they've not scheduled that call. Send them a follow-up one. Another 5 days go by, they haven't scheduled a call. Send them
Mhm.
a follow-up too. So those kind of steps do tend to they lend to be automated a lot
Hmm.
easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, yeah, I'm just, we were just talking about how I'm updating my honeybook, and I was like, oh, I should do that. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, it's been a week. They haven't
Hmm.
responded. I need to follow up. And then I'm doing that myself. And so I need to go in and have like a manual follow up in a couple days post, or an automatic one post.
Yeah, automatic. You can even implement tasks, which a lot of people like to use, like create a task after 1 week to call or text the client. So
Mm.
tasks are good ways to use things that happen inside of HoneyBook that need to be more manual, or things that happen outside of HoneyBook, like set up their aisle planner
Mm.
immediately after their first payment is paid.
Mm.
So it's a little bit of a project management system, but I do usually recommend for wedding pros to use a combination of HoneyBook to get them onboarded, keep in touch with them, and then help with offboarding. But then that project management, when you're getting into the nitty-gritty of color palettes, timelines,
Hmm.
that usually is better outside of HoneyBook.
Well, let's talk about that, Sonia, because you do more than just HoneyBook. I mean, you
Mhm.
guys are familiar with Aisle Planner.
Yes.
You do social media. I've hired your team for social media in the past, and it was an
Mhm.
amazing experience.
Yes.
So, let's talk about that a little bit. Just to like, how else is your team supporting wedding pros? And I know you're not just doing wedding pros, you do all sorts of creatives, but our audience,
Mhm.
I think, is mostly wedding pro focused. What are people asking for help? Like
Yeah.
where's their bottleneck?
Yeah, so a lot of people start with me on the HoneyBook side. And then once I mention, oh, by the way, I can help you not only upkeep your HoneyBook, but with other aspects of your business as well. That's when they're like, oh, wow, I had no idea. So with the HoneyBook stuff, I do work with anyone and everyone. And then on my virtual assistant team, I only work with wedding pros. So
Okay.
we really niche down and we're
Yeah.
familiar with all the platforms that everyone uses and timelines and how things work. And that's a good transition to start with HoneyBook with us because now we know the back end of your business. We know when you like to send things out. We know what
Mm.
that client life cycle looks like. So now how can we fill in the gaps? Usually it comes down to social media is a big one that
Mhm.
people don't have time for, and they're like, I have all these images, I just need to figure out how to get them up there. Allie on my team is a social media manager, and she really gets to know your business, figures out what your brand voice is like. What do you want to put out there? What are your educational pillars? And then starts creating on your behalf. So all you need to do is send over the galleries from that photographer, and then we take it from there. If there's a trending audio, then we'll usually be like, "Hey, do you mind filming a little bit of this?" And then we'll be able to post it for you, write that dreaded caption that everyone
Oh my
is
God.
staring at you got the photo, and now it's like, oh shoot, the caption, what do I put on here? So
Well, that
we
was
take,
the fun part. So
yeah.
I worked with Allie,
Hmm.
and that was the fun part of working with her because she would just tell me what to do. And all I had to do was do my hair and makeup, put on
Uh-huh.
an outfit, and record the thing. And sometimes it was like lip syncing stuff, or
Yeah.
sometimes she's like, okay, just do like pretend you're putting together your wedding kit or whatever.
Hmm.
And I just send her the raw footage, and
Yeah.
she would do all the annoying stuff of
Yeah.
like what's going to be the hook text and what's going to be
Hmm.
in the caption. And so it was just really cool. And I think seeing the other really neat thing about it was that we would talk about a plan for the month. And I
Hmm.
think how I go about it now, because I'm on my own and just, it's the last thing on my mind. So I probably should call
Hmm.
Allie again. But it's like you're scrambling every day. You're like, oh my God, I should
Hmm.
post something and whatever. But with working with her, it was like there was a whole planned out schedule, and we could move some things around if we were like, hey, we have a promotion coming up, or we have this cool event we want to feature. Like, let's leave
Hmm.
a blank spot for that. So it was just like, it felt like our life was so much more organized. And like, as I'm saying this out loud, I'm like, I miss those days.
Yeah. And I think one of those reels, like, I don't, maybe went like mini viral.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is like I don't expect them all to go viral because that's not the reality, but it's fun that there's enough. She's putting enough content out there
Hmm.
that it's consistency and it's building the brand identity and recognition, and it just the consistency in general is the most important part for me. So,
Yeah.
no, that was really fun working with her.
Good. I'm so glad. And I think it is one of the most like biggest hurdles for people that are working in the online space is like, oh, okay, I feel like I have to show up just to, even if it's to be consistent and to let people know, yeah, yeah, I'm still in business. But we make it easy so that you can see everything. We create a Notion calendar so you can
Mhm.
see the graphic, you can approve the caption before it all goes out. So it's still you. It's still very much involved, but you'd be surprised how much like we can get in your head and really emulate how you would talk on there. So we want to make it as close to your business as possible so that it does feel genuine.
Yeah.
I love
I know
that.
I have really let my social media go, but I also feel like the world is overwhelming. So it's
Mm,
just, I
Mhm.
think everybody probably feels that
yeah.
way.
Because I'll open up Instagram and then I'll get sucked in and I'm
Yeah.
watching reels for an hour now and oh no, how'd I
Mhm.
get here? So it
I
And
it
I'm
had
like,
to
is
I was
tricky.
gonna post something and now I don't
Yes.
remember.
Yeah.
Yes. I had
It's
to delete
challenging.
TikTok recently. I love consuming TikTok. I get great ideas from it, but I was
Yeah.
like, I want to read a book. And so
Yeah.
I was like, I need to eliminate some of these things from time to time.
I
Yeah.
know. And now it's all about getting found on AI.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think you had talked with someone that
Mhm.
specializes in SEO, and that's
Yep.
a huge one. And yeah, kind of getting into your client's head and where are they first starting to inquire? How can I show up, whether
Mhm.
that be social media, on my website?
Mhm.
I worked with a client that only worked with referrals, and I'm like, good for you that you can upkeep a
Dang.
busy
Wow.
business just from referrals.
We need that
Um,
person on our
Yeah,
podcast,
I was
don't
just
I
we?
gonna say.
know.
Please
I,
introduce us, Sonia.
I know she does it all like weddings, bar bat mitzvahs. So she is
Wow.
able to keep that going there. But then when as personal as referrals are, when we started building out her honey book, she's like, I want an automated email every month, a check-in email. I'm like, okay. But she's like, but I want it to be personal. So we worked out a way that felt good for her, but it was a pretty lengthy
Hmm.
follow-up sequence, if I remember.
Yeah, no kidding. And
Mhm.
one last question about this overall topic we were just saying for the bottleneck for the people that you work with on the VA support side.
Mhm.
Do you do stuff? Because Carrie and I talk about this, and I think it's our least favorite thing about our jobs is like the back and forth with the vendors, right?
Yeah.
Are you just focusing on systems and back end business, or are you also doing quote unquote client work when it comes to
Mhm.
interacting with wedding vendors, getting proposals, agreeing, disagreeing, or obviously you have to get approval by the planner and so
Mhm.
on. But do you work with them like that?
Yeah, we do. So we do a lot of inbox management, and as long as we get kind of a feel for what things happen, how should we respond?
Mm.
And usually that's like a gradual, like hands-off experience for where we are shadowing you for a little bit, and then we can hand that off. That's totally in our wheelhouse. That's something that we've done before. We've even created timelines for clients and their clients. So, in addition to that email management, when it comes to writing blogs, getting them on Pinterest, recycling that information to um, Instagram so we can cover as much ground as possible. That's a big sequence for us that a lot of people come to us for. Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
would say those were the main ones.
Yeah, I think that'd be the for me, that'd be the most helpful and the part that's so time consuming. Like as lead planners, I think our time is most valuable in getting leads,
Hmm.
doing design and coming up with the big picture vision for our clients, but that and then executing on the day. But that in between time, I'm still trying to create a robot that's gonna like
Hmm.
use my brain. And it's not like ChatGPT can't even do it because you have to integrate it. I mean, I guess maybe I think there are ways now to integrate them in the email and whatnot, but um yeah, that's a very valuable service.
Yeah, we've even, and it just depends on how comfortable you are passing things off, but we've helped with design. We've culled those images for
Wow.
photographers. It's just a matter of like, I try to do my best to pair people with a virtual assistant that can really highlight the skills that they need covered, or
Yeah.
maybe fill in the gaps for skills that um, they might not be utilizing as much. So, even if it's like, here's the images, here's the color palette, can you put it into um, my Canva template for me
Yeah.
for it so that I can send it to the client? Yes, of course. We love doing that kind of stuff, especially the creative side. SSC, my business, Sonia Smith Creative. I do want to make sure that everything that we create for you has that design element. It's
Mhm.
beautiful to look at and functional as well.
Love it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Earlier, I think, Sonia, you had said, maybe before we started recording, but HoneyBook has like some new AI features, and I just
Mhm.
wanted to touch on that really quick.
Yeah, so if you have a HoneyBook account, you can log into your settings and see a whole like AI tab there and kind of skim through. A lot of people don't love it because it does send you a lot of emails. But if you find those emails helpful, then it's definitely nice to utilize. One that I use for almost every one of my meetings is that AI meeting note taker.
Mm.
And I think Carrie said you use that too, where
Mhm.
it will send you a recap of everything that you've talked about. It has those action items. It has transcripts in there. So I recently sent a client that I was working on with who was deaf. I was like, here's the transcript of our entire meeting, and here's
Wow.
a recording, and let me add the captions in. So it 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 can be so helpful in so many different ways. A new feature, I think, as of a couple days ago, and this is especially helpful if you are kind of scared about automations, want to utilize automations 2.0, but aren't sure where to start. It's where I don't know if any of you have used Zapier, but you can use Zapier and you can say, um, I want this and this to happen. So HoneyBook took that idea and now you can implement it with the automation. So you can write out, I want to send a follow-up email after my contact form is submitted, and then I want, um, if they haven't booked a call with me, do X, Y, and Z. And it will build out the automation for you.
That's cool.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
gotta do this.
Because that's the hardest part because then because when you build it from scratch, right? Doesn't it, don't you have to do something like Okay, step one, send welcome email. If does this, do this. If doesn't do,
Yeah,
and that's like your brain is about to explode. And who has the time?
I know. Thankfully, I speak HoneyBook, and I'm pretty
Yes.
good at translating like y your ideal workflow into systems that are compatible with HoneyBook, and even offering suggestions along the way, like have you thought about a check-in here, or let's implement a task here, so you can remind yourself to do send a client gift at this time. So
Mm.
that is a big load off of the clients. But for those that want to start playing around with it and seeing what it can do, then I think that's a great option to see how far you can get. And maybe it's all that you need is to cover that initial onboarding process.
Yeah. Well, that is a perfect transition because I was going to ask as we wrap up this conversation, what is something wedding pros could do this weekend? Just like a really quick tip. And I was going to say, well, that's probably one of them. Use
Yeah.
that feature to set up a workflow. But what is maybe like a number one tip that you would give people to do right away?
Yeah, take a look at your contact form, see if it's on your website. There's also a little hidden link when you're working on your contact form in there that you can pull, and you can pull it into your um, like Instagram bio, just to have it in as many places as possible.
Yeah.
If someone inquires, you can send that to them too, like via email or via text, so that they're automatically added into HoneyBook and you aren't spending that time manually adding them in there. And then they're on that follow-up sequence because they've filled out that contact form, they've selected that project type, and now they're getting those follow-ups. Another good one is just taking a look at all of the files that you have active, making sure they're as easy to navigate as possible and as close to your branding as you can get, and making sure they're not too long either. And then if you're using a scheduler outside of
Mm,
HoneyBook, transferring all of
Get
your
rid of
availability.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
get
so
rid of
yeah.
it. Save yourself
get
some
rid of
money.
it, put
Yeah.
all that availability, copy those session types into HoneyBook, and get those implemented in your emails.
Awesome. I
Oh
love
Yeah.
that.
my gosh.
And then just like a
I
quick, that initial onboarding sequence, if you can get one or two
mhm.
automated emails, I think
Mhm.
that'll save you a ton of time.
Well, especially for the ghosting piece, like that's something that a lot of vendors in general are frustrated by. But
Yeah.
also, like you said, Carrie, if you're not automating the follow-ups, you have to remember, oh,
Yeah.
when did I send that reply? Okay,
Mhm.
now it's been a week. Okay, I'll follow up. Like put it on your calendar. But that's annoying. If you have the opportunity to do the
Yeah.
automation, that's like where I would prioritize a lot of it.
Because I've
Yeah.
also found, I feel like that'll be so helpful for me because I found those people that I do end up following up with, usually they're like, oh my gosh, I was so busy, I
Yeah.
forgot to respond. And if they're
Mm,
reaching out to multiple people, then it's like I'm the person that sticks out to them because they're like, oh, you followed up with me again. I'm going to schedule a call with you. So I
Yeah.
feel like that extra step of automation is really key.
yeah. And I like to even kind of keep an eye on where my those ghosted clients or where those follow-ups are at. So taking a
Mm,
look at your project pipeline, maybe creating a new project pipeline stage that's called follow-up one, called
mhm.
follow-up two, setting them at like, did they ghost me before I had the call with them, after I had the call, after the brochure? So you kind of know at what level they're at.
Mhm.
And then implementing tags is a fun one. That's a newer feature in HoneyBook. After my follow-up sequence that I have implemented ghosted tag. So I know, all right, these
Ah.
people were all ghosted. Maybe down the road, I want to run a sale and I'm going to send an email just to these ghosted clients.
And will you say, "Dear client, you have all ghosted me, and
I
so you are getting an extra 10% off."
know. As
Dear
much as
ghosties.
yeah, as much as I wish I could call them out on it,
Oh my gosh.
I
I
understand stuff gets in
That's
the
so
way,
smart
but
though.
I
I feel
know.
like they would like if you insult them a little bit though, they're more likely to respond.
Yeah,
Maybe we should.
around Halloween even.
Yeah, dear ghosties.
Oh my God, we should totally start a day around Halloween where it's just called like ghosting day. And we
Yeah,
all wedding vendors come together and we all send something funny and sassy to everybody who ghosted us.
that's so funny. I love that idea.
Oh my God. Okay, one last thing that I thought about because um are there any more issues with HoneyBook emails going to spam? I remember that being a thing
Mm.
for some time. I had HoneyBook years ago. I think I still have it as a free account.
Mhm.
And but I remember that being one of the hardest things was that they were getting lost in the spam folder.
Yeah, I haven't had that happen lately, and that's because they have implemented like a little email checker where you can run it and it will say, yep, there's no issues with your account.
Hmm.
All of your emails should start being delivered. You can
Okay.
run it and they'll say, oh, there's a server issue. Look into this here. Here are the instructions to do that. So
Okay.
I know what you're talking about, but I haven't had that happen to any of my clients recently.
Good.
That's
Okay.
good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this was like 8 years ago, so I'm
Mhm.
sure they've addressed it since.
Yes, they definitely have.
If not,
Good.
Sonia will let them know.
I know.
Yes.
No, it's so nice to have access to like, oh, here's a developer that's been working on Automations 2.0. We usually get like the beta testing and can run through it. How is this working? How is it going to impact our client? So, yeah, it's really nice to have that like touch point and be like, hey, this isn't working, or hey, people don't like this, or people really like this. So it's nice to have that connection. And it's when we when my clients work with me, I'm always like pushing their inquiries, submitting ideas on their behalf. And those usually end up happening a lot quicker than if you were working on your own.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Sonia,
Unsung
this has been
heroes.
so great. Just to end this, I guess two-part question, but do you have like a fun client success story that you can share with us that maybe they made even some simple updates in HoneyBook and it
Mm.
helped with their workflow, their processes, or even their bookings?
Yes, I was working with a wedding planner specifically, and she was doing everything in Google Drive. So
Oh,
all of her clients
Hmm.
were in a Google Sheet. All of her income, like everything, she was tracking everything in Google Drive. And I was like, okay, I can see why you want to start automating things because you're responding to your emails manually. Everything is in Google Drive. Things aren't super organized. Let's see how we can translate that system into HoneyBook and make it work for you. So, from her response time being like 2 days, we've cut it down to like 2 minutes. So,
Wow.
she ended up like almost doubling her bookings during busy season. She ended up getting way more reviews on her Google business page, which then kind of boosted her SEO. She started showing up higher on Google. So it's a whole like trickle down effect of when you get your systems in place, things that are branching out can start affecting your business in a positive way too.
oh, bless her. I used to do Google Drive like when I first started,
Yeah.
and that lasted like a year or so. And it was like, it
Yeah.
was exhausting
It
because
is
it's so much
exhausting.
manual work.
Yeah, and people still use it. If you want to have a folder for your couples, that's
Mhm.
totally fine. Like organize the files in there that you need. But if you're doing everything in there and you're living in your email inbox, then there's help. There's ways to get out of there and dig yourself out of that hole.
Yeah, we can work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Yes.
Awesome. And then Sonia, how can people find you online? What are the best ways that they can work with you? I know we talked about a lot of different services, but what's the best way for anyone to go about that?
Yeah, so if you're wanting help with your HoneyBook setup, whether that be automations or just smart files, I'm happy to work one-on-one with you on that. We do system audits and also obviously offer virtual assistant support for any of you wedding pros out there. And then ongoing social media management too, which is a big one. You can find my website at www.soniasmithcreative.com. Same for my Instagram handle, Sonia Smith Creative. And I'm offering free one-on-one coffee chats. If you just want to connect, if you want to talk about your business, or if you just want to network, I'm more than happy to do that. And then if any of you are going to be at Wedding MBA in Vegas this year, it'll be my first time attending. So I'd love to see some familiar faces there.
My God, fun. You'll have to let us
Yeah.
know how it is. I've never been.
You've never
Yeah,
been?
same. I haven't been.
Wow, I thought it was like the one that everyone goes to. So I'm excited to go and learn and like take
Yeah.
back information to me and my team, see what the upcoming trends are, what everyone's doing, hopefully network and make some connections.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
And
for
you'll
sure.
be on speaking on the stage just in a few years, I'm sure.
I know. I think it's definitely on my mind to potentially speak one
Mhm.
day. But I'll be popping around the Honeybook booth. I'll be learning stuff. I'll be in there. So I hope it'll be fun. I think it will.
It will.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're gonna
sure.
have to have you back on for a recap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone out there listening is going.
Oh yeah, for
Oh,
sure. I
for
feel like there's a lot
sure.
of people in the wedding world that go every year and they love it. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Well, Sonia, thank you so much. I feel like what you're doing is so helpful for wedding pros, and you have an amazing business, and I hope it continues to grow. But we appreciate all your insights, and we hope this helps all the jabbers out there. So, yeah, we will be back in 2 weeks. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.